Hello, my dear brothers and sisters. This is Sister Mary, and you are listening to Lighting the Way Ministries. We are in Genesis chapter 42 of the Amplified Bible. Now, when Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" For he said, "I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Get down there and buy grain for us, that we may live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brethren went to buy grain in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's full brother, Jacob did not send with his brothers, for he said, lest perhaps some harm or injury should befall him. So the sons of Israel came to buy grain among those who came, for there was hunger and general lack of food in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the governor over the land, he he it was who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's half brothers came and bowed themselves down before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph saw his brethren and he recognized them, but he treated them as if he were a stranger to them and spoke roughly to them. He said, "Where do you come from?" And they replied, "From the land of Canaan, to buy food." Joseph knew his brethren, but they did not know him. And Joseph remembered the dreams he had dreamed about them, and said to them, "You are spies, and with unfriendly purpose you have come to observe secretly the nakedness of the land." But they said to him, "No, my lord, but your servants have come only to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Your servants are not spies." And he said to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." But they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is today with our father, and one is not." And Joseph said to them, "It is as I said to you, you are spies. You shall be proved by this test. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not go away from here unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you and let him bring your brother, and you will be kept in prison, that your words may be proved whether there is any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh you certainly are spies." Then he put them all in custody for 3 days. And Joseph said to them on the third day, "Do this and live. I reverence and fear God. If you are true men, let one of your brothers be bound in your prison, but the rest of you go and carry grain for those weakened with hunger in your households. But bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you shall live." And they did so. And they said one to another, "We are truly guilty about our brother, for we saw the distress and anguish of his soul when he begged us to let him go, and we would not hear. So this distress and difficulty has come upon us." Reuben answered them, "Did I not tell you, do not sin against the boy? And you would not hear. Therefore, behold, his blood is required of us." But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned away from them and wept. And then he returned to them and talked with them, and took from them Simeon and bound him before their eyes. Then privately Joseph commanded that their sacks be filled with grain, every man's money be restored to his sack, and provisions be given to them for the journey. And this was done for them. They loaded their donkeys with grain and left. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he caught sight of his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said to his brothers, "My money is restored. Here it is in my sack." And their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, and turned trembling one to another, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" When they came to Jacob their father in Canaan, they told him all that had befallen them, saying, "The man who is the Lord of the land spoke roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country." And we said to him, "We are true men, not spies. We are 12 brothers with the same father, and one is no more, and the youngest is today with our father in the land of Canaan." And the man, the Lord of the country, said to us, "By this test I will know whether or not you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take grain for your famishing households, and be gone. Bring your youngest brother to me." Then I will know that you are not spies, but that you are honest men, and I will deliver to you your brother, whom I have kept bound in prison. And you may do business in the land. When they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's parcel of money was in his sack. When both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, You have bereaved me. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and you would take Benjamin from me? All these things are against me. And Reuben said to his father, Slay my two sons if I do not bring Benjamin back to you. Deliver him into my keeping, and I will bring him back to you. But Jacob said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children. If harm or accident should befall him on the journey you are to take, you would bring my hoary head down to Sheol, the place of the dead, with grief. Genesis chapter 43. But the hunger and destitution and starvation were very severe and extremely distressing in the land of Canaan. And when the families of Jacob's sons had eaten up the grain which the men had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, Go again, buy us a little food. But Judah said to him, The man solemnly and sternly warned us, saying, You shall not see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go down to Egypt and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, You shall surely not see my face unless your brother is with you. And Israel said, Why did you do me such a wrong and suffer this evil to come upon me by telling the man that you had another brother? And they said, The man asked us straightforward questions about ourselves and our relatives. He said, Is your father still alive? Have you another brother? And we answered him accordingly. How could we know that he would say, Bring your brother down here? And Judah said to Israel, his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I will be security for him. You shall require him of me personally, if I do not bring him back to you and put him before you. Then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not lingered like this, surely by now we would have returned the second time. And their father Israel said to them, If it must be so, now do this. Take of the choicest products in the land of your sacks, and carry down a present to the man, a little balm, and a little honey, aromatic spices, and gum of rock rose, or ladanum, pistachio nuts, and almonds, and take double the grain money with you, and the money that was put back in the mouth of your sacks, carry it again with you. There is a possibility that its being in your sacks was an oversight. Take your brother and arise and return to the man. May God Almighty give you mercy and favor before the man, that he may release to you your other brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved of my sons, I am bereaved. Then the man took the present, and they took double the grain money with them and Benjamin, and they arose and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, Bring the men into the house, and kill an animal, and make ready, for the men will dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph ordered, and brought the men to Joseph's house. The men were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house. And they said, We are brought in because of the money that was returned in our sacks the first time we came, so that he may find occasion to accuse and assault us, take us for slaves, and seize our donkeys. So they came near to the steward of Joseph's house and talked with him at the door of the house, and said, Oh, sir, we came down truly the first time to buy food. And when we came to the inn, we opened our sacks, and there was each man's money, full weight, returned in the mouth of his sack. Now we have brought it back again, and we have brought down with us other money to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks. But the steward said, Peace be to you. Fear not. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your money. And he brought Simeon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water. And they washed their feet, and he gave their donkeys provender. And they made ready the present they had brought for Joseph before his coming at noon, for they heard that they were to dine there. And when Joseph come home, they brought into the house to him the present which they had with them, and bowed themselves to him to the ground. He answered them of their welfare, and said, Is your old father well, of whom you spoke? Is he still alive? And they answered, Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he looked up, and he saw his full brother Benjamin, his mother's only other son, and said, Is this your youngest brother, of whom you spoke to me? And he said, God be gracious to you, my son. And Joseph hurried from the room, for his heart yearned for his brother, and he sought privacy to weep. So he entered his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out, and restraining himself, said, Let dinner be served. And the servants set out the food for Joseph by himself, and for his brothers by themselves, and for those Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, according to the Egyptian custom, not to eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. And Joseph's brothers were given seats before him, the eldest according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at one another, amazed that so much was known about them. Joseph took and sent helpings to them from before him, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they drank freely and were merry with him. Genesis 44. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest, with his grain money. And the steward did according to what Joseph had said. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. When they had left the city, and were not yet far away, Joseph said to his steward, Up, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, Why have you rewarded evil for good? Why have you stolen the silver cup? Is it not my master's drinking cup, with which he divines the future? You have done wrong in doing this. And the steward overtook them, and he said to them these same words. They said to him, Why does my lord say these things? Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. Note that the money which we found in the mouths of our sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. Is it likely then that we would steal from your master's house silver or gold? With whomever of your servants your master's cup is found, not only let that one die, but the rest of us will be my lord's slaves. And the steward said, Now let it be as you say. He with whom the cup is found shall be my slave, but the rest of you shall be blameless. Then quickly every man lowered his sack to the ground, and every man opened his sack. And the steward searched, beginning with the eldest and stopping with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes, and after each man had loaded his donkey again, they returned to the city. Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was still there, and they fell prostrate before him. Joseph said to them, What is this thing that you have done? Do you not realize that such a man as I can certainly detect and know by divination everything you do without other knowledge of it? And Judah said, What shall we say to my lord? What shall we reply? Or how shall we clear ourselves, since God has found out and exposed the iniquity of your servants? Behold, we are my lord's slaves, the rest of us as well as he with whom the cup is found. But Joseph said, God forbid that I should do that. But the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for the rest of you, arise and go in peace to your father. Then Judah came close to Joseph and said, O my Lord, let your servant, I pray you, speak a word to you in private, and let not your anger blaze against your servant. For you are as Pharaoh, so I will speak as if directly to him. My Lord asked his servant, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And we said to my Lord, We have a father, an old man, and a young brother, the child of his old age, and his brother is dead. And he alone is left of his mother's offspring, and his father loves him. And you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, that I may set my eyes on him. And we said to my Lord, The lad cannot leave his father, for if he should do so, his father would die. And you told your servants, Unless your youngest brother comes with you, you shall not see my face again. And when we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my Lord had said. And our father said, Go again and buy us a little food. But we said, We cannot go down if our youngest brother is with us. Then we will go down, for we may not see the man's face except our youngest brother is with us. And your servant, my father, said to us, You know that Rachel, my wife, bore me 2 sons. And the one went out from me, and I said, Surely he is torn to pieces, and I have never seen him since. And if you take this son also from me, and harm or accident should befall him, you will bring down my gray hairs with sorrow and evil to Sheol, the place of the dead. Now therefore, when I come to your servant, my father, and the lad is not with us, since his life is bound up in the lad's life, and his soul knit with the lad's soul, when he sees that the lad is not with us, he will die, and your servants will be responsible for his deaths, and will bring down the gray hairs of your servant, our father, with sorrow to Sheol. For your servant became security for the lad to my father, saying, If I do not bring him to you, then I will bear the blame to my father forever. Now therefore, I pray you, let your servant remain instead of the youth, to be a slave to my Lord, and let the young man go home with his half-brothers. For how can I go up to my father if the lad is not with me, lest I witness the woe and the evil that will come upon my father?